What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the garage, to the channel, all that good stuff. Hyosung. So this is just going to be like an update where we're at, what we're doing. A lot of you have said you want to see what is actually behind the whole build, like over the whole bike, I guess. I did actually have this up for sale. I was going to sell it and then had a few swap offers and a few things that I did consider, but I couldn't just sell it incomplete. I got to finish it, got to get it done. Yeah, so some of you guys asked what is done to the bike, what did you do to get it to this point. There are a few scattered videos of what I did do to get it to this point. So I'll go over that as I'm actually pulling it apart. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull it apart. We are going to revisit a lot of the stuff on the bike that I'm not happy with. So we're going to go over, well, this ram mount for one. I am not a big fan of that, so we'll probably yeet that off. It keeps losing these little buggers. So that's gone. Boost gauge, the air fuel ratio gauge, boost controller, all of that. We'll get rid of that, at least for the meantime. So I do plan on getting it back on the road, naturally aspirated, just so I can ride it, use it, make use of it, really, until I can get back to the ECU. That's something we'll touch on as well, as what I'm going to do with our ECU. But until I can deal with all of that stuff and make it more street legal, more practical, a little less janky, well actually no, a lot less janky. That's my main goal here, is to make it look less janky. So we've got this SV650 radiator. Everything works, but I just don't like how she's sticking out here. It's a bit longer than the GT650 radiator, so to get it to fit I've had to yeet these fairings, cut these, trim these, make some brackets and stuff to hold it in. I was actually learning how to TIG weld at the time when I done the welding for the intercooler piping on this. So I want to go over all the aspects of this. The one thing that isn't going to change is basically where the turbo sits and the turbo manifold itself. Everything else I will address and touch. So we're going to look at the paint, we're going to look at the clutch, radiator. I'm going to go back to a alloy radiator for the GT650, so it's smaller but it'll fit. We're not going to have cooling problems on this bad boy anyway. Going to go through and do our intercooler, actually going to ditch the intercooler altogether, run just a straight LE pipe straight to the intake, which is something else that I'm going to be addressing. I'm going to be remaking that manifold in aluminium, a very simplified version of it. Yeah, just pretty much everything. All this wiring is a little bit how you going, it's a little bit janky looking. Like we've got this relay here and that just kind of floats around, and if you bump it sometimes it'll kick on, it'll turn itself on. It's actually just a OEM Honda relay that I just kind of chucked in there, and you can see a little bit of corrosion on the pins too. She's not too happy just chill banging in there. But there's a lot of this wiring that I'd like to touch up. Fuel tank, there's a small ding in it. Where is that? There. I need to fix that, paint this, paint the fairings. We got a new screen for the front. We got new front right fairing and lower fairing, and on this side as well. We've got this lower fairing. This one's actually not too bad, but it still does have this, so I am going to replace it. We've actually got these all chilling out here, so stock exhaust. We're going to cut this bracket off here, chuck this slip-on Scorpion muffler on. She's a big girl, still straight through, but definitely quietens it up a bit. We got a new screen, new indicators, a few other bits and pieces coming. So the plan with the turbo is obviously have it for one. We're going to run a electric pickup, so the oil drain here. We're going to run an electric one. I don't think I actually necessarily need one, but I'm going to run one anyway just in case. Better safe than sorry. And we're going to have it dump back into either up here through this bolt missing, through an AN fitting, or through this side, maybe even have it dump back into there. Either way, because at the moment it just feeds back into the bottom and the oil pump is actually pulling it in, like pulling it up, feeding it back into the motor. I want to get all these covers painted too, just prettier up a bit. This is fine where it is. The fuel system's all good as is. Maybe get some P-clamps to hold things in place instead of the zip ties. But yeah, as I was saying, I wouldn't mind painting the frame, cleaning that up a bit, just black, nothing fancy. And same with these, painted black, painted black, painted black, painted black, black, just everything black. And then with the turbo setup, we'll be replacing this bad boy here. I don't think it's actually actuating very well. It's got a bit of a ding in there now too. We're gonna fuck that off. This is shit. Obviously it's China turbo with a China wastegate, so we're gonna get rid of this altogether. I am gonna drill into the actual rear housing and we're gonna chuck on a small tube, run a external wastegate setup as well with like a 3 psi spring in it, just so it's not making any more than 3 psi, hopefully, and just a screamer down the bottom. Alright, so first up we're gonna get this tank off. Alrighty, fuel tank is off. Only like a lot of fuel went everywhere as usual. Yeah, like I can smell it. You can probably smell it through the fucking video. Yeah, so this is what it looks like underneath anyway. What do we got? We get our Dyna coil packs, so operated coil packs. There's busted back on here. We got our stainless intake manifold. We have, I didn't think I mentioned that I chucked this bad boy in. This is a vacuum block, so it's just or a vacuum manifold. It's just extra displacement really to kind of smooth out the vacuum pulse between both of the throttle bodies. So running between those two, it's kind of pulses. You can see it in the boost gauge as well. Like varies quite considerably, so I chucked this in just to kind of smooth it out. We get our catch can stuff here. This one looks like it's kind of folded over a little bit. Not too much, but still not ideal. That's from the rocker cover here, just to alleviate any crankcase pressure or any excess crankcase pressure. See down there our wrapped turbo manifold. We've got our tip over sensor that is actually unplugged. Fuel filter, fuel pump. We've got a relay and stuff down there below the pump. That kind of stuff, like this relay, that relay, I want to move it all to the back so it's no longer under the tank. So yeah, we'll be getting rid of this and running a simple aluminium style intake. And you can see, well, you can see down there we've got the intercooler and the radiator there. So those are both going. I've done quite a lot to the bike and I'm pretty happy with how it's gone so far, but this is just going to be a whole lot of refinement. We are down to the bare bones. Not really much to the bike once you pull off the fairings. You can see my setup. I don't know if many of you have actually seen it before in this state, but that's pretty much what it is. Done the job. Now, curb ski. Probably not meant to be on one of these bikes, but hey, here's what it is. Yeah, you can see some of the stuff that I've done. I've obviously ground this down to fit the turbo up there, and she has a pretty tight fit under there, nice and snug. Get our oil line kind of just chilling under here. I mean, it got the job done, and I did get to ride it around a little bit before I got pulled over and defected. But yeah, a lot of refinement still to go, I think, lads. A lot of refinement to go. So last night the camera ran out of memory, so I just left it as is because it wasn't too interesting what I was doing anyway. Went and gurneyed down the bike, so she's nice and rusty up here now. Well, actually I think that was always rusty, it's just wet now. So that's definitely something we're going to have a look at, as well as a little bit of rust prevention, but we'll go over that once the bike's sanded. But yeah, as you can see, gave it a good gurney. I don't know what that stuff is there. Probably brake fluid, I guess, given that it's kind of eating the paint. Yeah, we got the bike gurney down, cleaned out. Yeah, man, there's more here. I think that's actually the oil, guys. Might be the oil. Seems to be eating the paint. I'm not sure if that's just a normal thing even on the old 4-stroke oil for this stuff. But anyway, this is where we're at. Decided to whip off these covers, or actually give the block a quick scrub. Nothing too fancy, it's not going to get too pretty, but probably going to whack it with a good bit of ceramic black just to clean up some of the areas like this. Nothing fancy, probably not even going to cover any of these bolts, we'll just black it out. You don't actually see it under the fairings, but in here you kind of do, so I'd like to get some of that. But you can see I've gone and cleaned it, and even after a clean, most of this staining comes off. That's actually just the degreaser. But also some of it does not come off. That's from the petrol, taking the tank on and off like 500 times. Oh, not actually the petrol, no, it's from the E85. That is what's done this. So definitely painting the frame. Yeah, so here we are. This is where we're at. Going to go through all of this. Actually, we're going to sort out all this stuff. So yeah, basically how to turbo a Hyosung in one picture. We got the whole turbo setup and stuff, if you guys are curious as to what it looks like off the bike. That's our rear section. There's another section here that's connected to the bike. It's about 3 inches long with a V-band on the end. Just makes it possible to get this on and off. We've obviously heat wrapped the whole thing because, well, it gets pretty toasty. TD04L Turbo from a Subaru Forester. It is pretty big, but the idea behind that is I wanted the boost to come in quite late. I didn't want a responsive turbo because it's a motorbike. I didn't want it to yeet up in the air and fuck me off it. So yeah, TD04L, we've got our turbo drain, pretty straightforward. That led straight to the bottom of the sump, where the oil pump from the bike itself actually acted like a scavenge pump and pulled the oil up. The problem was, one, when the bike sat, the oil would pool all up through the hose there, and two, when the bike was on a stand, it would lift it to a point where oil would pool in the actual bearing housing there, which would it let oil out, it let oil drip. You can see it down here actually. It let oil seep through the bearing into the actual intake and exhaust side, so the inducer and exducer side, oil got out, no surprise. And three, under heavy load, it would push, the oil, more oil was flowing through it than what this could evacuate and scavenge up, so you'd get oil, smoky exhaust, and you get oil intake as well. There's quite a bit. There's actually oil in this vacuum line, I think it was pushing oil in there under boost. So that's definitely something to rectify. We're going to run a electronic scavenge pump to sort that issue out, and you'll see that in a future episode there. We got our loom, which is 90% OEM with a little bit of chopping and changing and pretty straightforward stuff there. I will tidy all of that up and really simplify that. That's the plan anyway. Yeah, we've got all our other little Hyosung bits and pieces floating around in there, headlight, all that stuff. Got another one coming today apparently, other headlight that is. Yeah, now next up, with the magic of YouTube, I'm going to, well, I gotta go through all of this. Oh, I still got my sandwich, fucking sick. Yeah, anyway, gonna get all these parts sorted, organized, and that's just gonna look like this. Yeah, so straightforward. She is out, motor is out, frame is nearly ready to be fully sprayed. I guess what's up next is we're gonna pull the swing arm, we're gonna pull this triple tree down too. I'll probably, given that I've already got the hoist kind of set up there conveniently, I might find a couple of like center bolts somewhere on the frame, kind of like bolt it to this, lift it up, take the weight off, and then we'll just pull the rest of it off. Oof. We done. Whole chassis is completely bare. The only things to take out now are going to be the bearing races, and they're pretty munted too. I'm going to leave those in until it is painted. That way I don't need to worry about paint getting under it because it's a tight tolerance fit. I'll leave them in, I'll pull them out. If there's a little bit of paint in there that it gets through the masking or whatever, we should be sweet. So that's that. Next up, next video, we're just going to sand. We'll do the frame and probably our engine covers and rocker covers. Sand them all, prep them. I did think about using like going full on and using like a paint stripper on it, but makes too much mess, and you've really got to commit if you're doing that, and I don't see any necessity behind doing that. I just got to scuff this up with maybe, probably not even 180 grit, probably like somewhere in the 3s, 400s, and just get a good key on it. We do have to spray it down with a specific epoxy white primer, which is going to be good and bad. It's going to be good in regards to if I miss anything, you're going to notice it with the contrast, so I'll be able to retouch it. And bad because it means I have to do my job properly, hey. Yeah, so we're going to get that epoxy primer down, get it nice, clean, and then we can go on with our base color, and then that base color also requires a 2K clear. I guess that calls it. I'll see you on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace.